Let's switch gears for a moment to New Mexico State. I know, Goodman, you've been reporting on this, done a great job on it. Greg Heiar has gotten fired amid an investigation into the team. There have been allegations of 3 players hazing a younger team member. What has developed over the course of the last couple of days?
Yeah, I mean, basically what happened was the father of the player found out about everything and reached out to Heiar. Heiar didn't even respond to him. He then spoke to the athletic director, and then he decided, I'm going to go to the police and trying to protect his son, because this has happened. It started about a week or two after the incident in which Mike Peake killed a New Mexico student in self-defense, but killed a student. And this hazing situation started. And according to multiple sources that I've talked to, it was basically these 3 players telling this kid to take off his clothes and doing things to him. Obviously embarrassing things. And with the whole team watching, and just disgusting, like absolutely despicable things. And I hope these kids' names come out soon. If they don't, I'm going to put it out. I will put them out because they deserve to have their names out there. I haven't yet. I think they'll get out there at some point here soon as the investigation continues. And all the players have now, most of them have been questioned. And so Greg Heiar gets fired. And, listen, he never should have been hired in the first place. And to be honest, this is a guy who worked for Greg Marshall when Greg Marshall, they were at Wichita, Heiar was his assistant, when Greg Marshall punched a player named Shaq Morris, punched a player. So I was going through this whole deal and reporting on it 3 years ago and called about 50 people. Greg Heiar was one of them, because I was told by several players that were there that Greg Heiar was right there. He saw the punch. So I called Heiar and asked him, said, Greg, first of all, you didn't do anything back then. I said, so, love to talk to you on or off the record now. You saw the incident. You saw the punch. What happened? Wouldn't say anything to me. And this is, come on, man, like even off the record, you can't go there. You can't go there and at least confirm that, yes, that did happen. Wouldn't say anything. So I lost all respect for him then. And obviously how he's handled everything within this program now. Not that I had any respect for him at that point, but just a joke of how you can be a leader of men or anything like that. Like, no, you shouldn't work around kids. You're done. You're done. You should be done forever.
Yeah, the thing about the situation for me is that Greg Heiar he was lucky that he still had a job, right? Because think about the situation that happened in the road trip to New Mexico. He had players get in a brawl at a New Mexico State, New Mexico football game when they were in the stands. When they went to New Mexico, this kid, Mike Peake, was so concerned about being on that campus that he had to bring a gun with him on the road trip. Let me say that again. He went on a team road trip and brought a gun with him because he was worried about being confronted. Then he was catfished and brought out of the room by a girl that he was supposed to meet, and he was jumped by these players while he was carrying the gun with him at 3 o'clock in the morning on the campus of the team that they were about to play. Gets in a fight, gets jumped, ends up shooting and killing somebody. Then they tried to cover some of that stuff up, right? Part of it was like they were hiding some of the technology, some of the devices that they had. Part of it was not being forthcoming with where the weapon was, trying to get the players out of town and out of the program and back on their own campus on the team bus. There's a video of Greg Heiar telling a police detective, like, I don't know how to contact a player on my team. I don't know how to get in touch with them.
And also saying,
right?
I barely know the player.
Yes.
I've only known him for a little. Come on, man.
Like he was lucky to survive. Like, he shouldn't have survived that.
No.
If you're a coach and that happens in your program, like, you shouldn't survive. You had a player bring a gun on a road trip. What are we even talking about?
And then you didn't
And
have
use
still
it.
had your job.
It's then how you handled everything post that. Like, that can happen to your program. But again, after the brawl, there was nothing done. Like, and then how about, I mean, I'm told also that something's going to happen. The 3 players who picked up Mike Peake in the Camaro, there's going to be something that happens to them soon. I'm told as well. There'll be some, I don't know what the punishment will be, but those 3 kids,
like that,
and those were 3 different kids. So you got Mike Peake, you got the 3 kids who picked him up with the Camaro. These 3, they don't overlap at all. These are 3 different kids who did the hazing.
And here's the biggest thing. They finished the season. They were 2-10 in their conference. They were 9-15 overall.
Worse than that.
Well, they're 2-10, and then they're going to forfeit all the other games, so they'll end up 2-16, right? At New Mexico State, do you know how hard it is to be that bad in New Mexico State?
It's traditionally the best job.
Yeah.
For
Yeah,
20
last year, Chris Jans had New Mexico State at 27-7, and they beat somebody in the NCAA tournament. I don't remember who. We don't need to have a conversation about that. You know, I got a little too much PTSD coming from that. Year before that, they were 12-8. They lost in the finals of the WAC tournament. Year before that, they were 25-6, and the tournament got canceled. Right. Year before that, they made the NCAA tournament and they lost to Auburn in the first round. Year before that, they were in the NCAA. Like, this is.
Hey, Rob,
go to the tournament. You win the WAC at New Mexico State.
You know what they got to do? Get rid of everybody. I like the AD. I like Mario. But the other part is, and I don't know if you know this, Megan, the women's coach was at Wichita State, and she was fired at Wichita State, and he took her at New Mexico State. So this is a program issue. And to me, what you got to do now is absolutely just cut bait with everything and start over and get a coach in there who can bring in a completely different outlook, high character kids, a high character coach who's never had any issues. You know, a guy like a Tim Miles would be great for New Mexico State. He's at San Jose State, never had any issues really. He'd be good at a place like that if he'd even take it. But somebody like that, that's what you need.
A New Mexico State, New Mexico rivalry game between Richard Pitino and Tim Miles.
Oh, yeah.
On Fox Sports 1, mic'd up, all access. Content does not get better than that, ladies and gentlemen. The content does not get better than that. I'm gonna talk it into existence.
Manifesting. We're just manifesting right here.
Manifest it.
But you know, at the end of the day, well, first off, my father's first head coaching job ever was at New Mexico State.
Really? No.
Took him to the NCAA tournament, then he went to George Washington afterwards.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So we're sitting here mansplaining how good New Mexico State is to Megan, and she's just sitting here like, oh, I know, guys.
So all right, the question then, Megan, when he was there, was this the perception? Have you talked to him about this, about New Mexico State and what it was like then?
Yeah, I never did, but we haven't talked about it, and that's a good point. Obviously going to be a conversation we'll have to have, but from what I know, it was a great job though, from the standpoint of like, you can win that conference and you can get kids in. Yeah. Which is so important. But at the end of the day, as the coach of a daughter, as the fiance of a coach, you are in charge of taking care of young men and women, no matter where you are. And so if you're not going to do that, like, yes, it's about X's and O's, you got to win games, but you're taking care and you're developing people in a very vulnerable state. And if you're not going to do that, what are you doing? And it's so important. It's on the athletic directors to really do their homework. When you are going to hire the next person in charge, are they going to be a high character person, especially after all the shit that's happened here? You have to get somebody in that has a clean record, that's going to be up to snuff, and is not going to deal with this BS, because this should have never happened. Ever. It should have never gotten this far. It should have stopped in November when that situation happened. So the fact that it was able to progress and spiral out of control is absolutely inexcusable. And it's a blemish, not only on the university, but in a sense on the conference as well. Like, this doesn't look good on anyone.
So bad. I feel so bad for the poor kid.
Yeah.
That's the part that's getting lost in this.
And he probably wouldn't have come forward if his father didn't take charge of it.
Right.
No, and it's never a situation. You're vulnerable as a new freshman on a team or as a younger player on a team, and you want everyone to like you. You're trying to fit in. And it's
to me, that's the biggest thing, right? Like if you have a player that's going to do what Mike Peake did and you're the coach, right? Like some of that's on you for taking a chance of bringing the player in. But it's also, it's once they're kind of out of your practices, right? Like how much can you really control what a player does? But this was happening, like the hazing stuff was happening in his own locker room. You have to know that.
And
It's
some of it
you know that.
to know
You
that.
do know.
Some of it,
Yes.
some of it, guys, happen outside of the locker room. Now, maybe not to the level.
But like, okay, so it's not in your, but it's in your program.
No. I'm
team.
agreeing with you.
You have to know that. You have
in your
that,
locker room.
That's inexcusable
outside.
to me. Not having that knowledge is inexcusable to me. If Mike Peake's going to do what he does, like, there's only so much you can do as a coach, right? There's only so much that you can do. But the hazing stuff, you have to know that hazing's unacceptable to me. You can't.
It is.
No,
It is.